Okay, so we're here with the first ever episode of what we're titling the Aveste podcast because we can't think of any other name, can we?
No, we've got a bit of time, hopefully, to think of a name in the next 45 minutes or on the train on the way home.
Yeah, I think we just do that because let's be honest, do podcasts really need like crazy names if we're being honest with each other?
No, they just need great chat, don't they, to be honest?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to bring, right? Hopefully with this podcast. So, I think what we should do probably to start off with is explain to people why we're doing this, and why we thought it'd be good to get two random people basically in a room together to start a podcast. So, should we probably start there?
Yeah, let's tell people why we decided to do this Sunday morning.
Yeah. So, I think you and I, right, we are best friends. We live together.
We do.
And we tend to have conversations with each other. Basically, we have debates. We think that they're like relatively interesting. We do talk for quite a long time. And so we thought it might as well be worth us, recording one and seeing if people wanted to listen to it. So we'll find out. We'll find out if people want to listen to it.
Yeah, the views and the algorithm don't lie to you. So that is that's one thing.
Yeah. And I think also, I suppose the way that I was thinking about it is, I don't know, do you journal?
I do only when I need to. So not often enough, basically.
Yeah, because I don't journal. And I've listened to podcasts where, there you go, drop that in, that we got podcasts. I listen to podcasts where people talk about journaling and talk about the value of it and that sort of thing. And I'm a little bit jealous that I didn't do it 10 years ago so I could look back and have that moment. And so what I thought this could be, obviously we have those conversations, they're lost to time.
They're lost to, eternity.
Yeah. So I thought this could almost be like a little bit of like a journal of what we've got up to, what we're doing, how we're feeling at a particular time. And so I think that's what I thought could be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think when you are forced to speak, especially in a kind of more pressurized environment, like a podcast as well, you're really forced to think, right? And thinking and talking are indistinguishable, in my opinion.
So and I think also, right, I think we know some quite extraordinary people, both from our friends and people that we work with and that sort of thing. And I also think like another value of what we're going to do here is try and bring some conversations with people that we've met and we've worked with to just hear their stories as well. So I think, first of all, like we want the conversations that we have to be quite fun, but we also want the conversations to be like useful to people, right? Like we don't just want to be like getting in here and chatting shit. That was another name of the podcast, right? But I think because of the level of people that we're working with, it'd be really nice to sort of like chat to them, learn their lessons of life, learn what they believe in, and maybe what we tend to do is like change opinions, don't we? I mean, you change your opinion quite often in terms of like growing and developing, and I'm trying to do the same.
Absolutely.
Often, so yeah.
Absolutely, and we've met some wonderful people through Aveste, obviously, not to mention just our life in general. And so, it would be good to share stories of people that are, don't want to discredit them anyway, but, normal people.
Yeah.
How they manage their lives as well as, getting clothing businesses, off the ground, which, as we know, is a very difficult endeavor.
Very difficult.
So, we'd love to get some of the founders in that we work with, but also some other people as well.
The final point of what this podcast will be about is that because we're fairly, I'm fairly obsessed with podcasts. I think you are as well, right?
Love them.
Yeah.
Love them.
We watch them, we listen to them. We've got like our favorites. We've got people that are controversial. I listen to Joe Rogan. People, I don't know, have an opinion on Joe Rogan that they might not like him. Who else do you listen to that you really like?
I listen to Lex Friedman, Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson. There's a bit of a psychology philosophy theme there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And, occasionally the odd Stephen Bartlett. Obviously Brian as well gets put on in our house. The True Geordie
podcast.
For anyone who doesn't know Brian.
Yeah.
And I love the short form of it as well, where you can just get a reel for 60 seconds from like little snippets of the podcast as well. Because often I find that if I like them, I'm like, that was a really good 60 seconds. I want to see more of that conversation. And then I'll go and find the podcast or the conversation.
Yeah, it is fascinating, isn't it? So I think we want to channel some of that creativity, because I think we're probably both quite creative people. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. I think we have different outlets for our creativity as well.
Yeah, and I think this could be like one of them. Like, I've never done anything like this. You've never done anything like this. But I think like doing this exercise where we're in a room like this and just having a conversation could be a creative outlet for us, because like I'm really into art and design and drawing, painting, that sort of thing. And your outlet has always been music, right?
Definitely music. And yeah, I'm a very open person. So love to discuss ideas, and what better place to do that than a podcast with all this fancy equipment sat around us that we barely managed to get working this morning.
Yeah, well, we'll find out if it does work in a second, right? when we listen to this back, we'll find out.
If we listen to this back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jake very hilariously doesn't like listening or watching himself, which makes editing videos and reels and Instagram posts quite interesting. But do you think you'll ever get past that? Or do you think that will always be a thing?
What's really interesting right now is obviously with these headphones on, you can hear yourself in very directly. So I'm getting used to it.
How do you sound? Do you like the sound of your own voice?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I remember like as a kid, the first time I heard my own voice through like a digital piece of equipment, and you were like, oh my goodness, what is this? It's obviously because you hear your voice usually through the reverberations and the echoes within your skull, so it sounds different to how a microphone would pick it up. And so for a lot of people, they're like, oh my god, do I sound like this? But yes, you do.
Yeah it is. I remember the first time I listened to myself, I was recording some like French that I had to record for school or whatever, and absolutely horrendous. And I remember listening to myself for the first time and going, is that what I sound like? And like just hating it from the moment you go. But I think you've almost got to train yourself to get past that if you're doing what we're doing, like trying to start something from scratch. I think you've got to get into that. So let's tell the guys a little bit about us, and I suppose like who they're listening to, because I suppose we're starting this from scratch. People aren't necessarily going to know who we are. So I suppose the reason why we're here is that we want to talk about Aveste and what we're doing with that business. So I suppose our sort of background is that we're trying to start a business from scratch. We're doing it at the start of the journey. So we're starting this, and people are listening to this when we've just started the business up effectively. We've only been going like a year pretty much, right? Where we've been officially live.
Trading, yeah.
So I suppose what we want to tell people is like, we want to show people the journey from the beginning. Like I think a lot of people that I watch, and I watch on YouTube or I listen to podcasts about, I see them and they're at the end of the journey. Like they're already incredibly successful. They've got huge podcasts, huge audiences. And neither you nor I have a huge audience. We aren't millionaires.
No.
Definitely not millionaires.
Definitely not.
So I thought it would be quite interesting to start this journey and let people sort of understand where we've come from the very get-go, right?
Yeah, definitely. We can take people on the journey, and we've been live kind of a year in terms of the store-facing customers. But we started the journey actually, back in September 2020. Yeah. So all the hardship, hopefully, of that year and COVID is all still fresh in our minds, so we can actually give a bit of some rich context and stories that from the very first years, and all the admin that comes with setting up a business, and all the rest of it. So let's do that.
Yeah. So I think the natural place to start, because we're telling people what we're talking about Aveste, no, we haven't really explained what it is. So shall we go in and explain that? So for Aveste, right, the way that I always explain it, and you can keep going on this, is that Aveste is the home of independent streetwear. And we've designed it so that we've got now over 25 brands in one place. So basically you can go onto Aveste, you can find amazing clothes from just quality retailers in one place. And I think that came from a problem that you and I both shared, right? Was that we could never find clothes that we liked. So do you want to give people a bit of context about how you used to find clothes, and I suppose this journey, because I suppose it's a joint idea, right? Sure. It was both of our ideas. And so I think it's definitely started from a problem. So why don't you explain some of the problems?
Totally. There's I've always been a fan of finding what some people would call like indie brands, or well, not in terms of the music, but more underground brands that are less well known, often would have had, say, big cartel websites,
Yeah.
before Shopify was around. And I would love to find these kind of guys and girls because they would have really cool designs on them, stuff that you wouldn't find anywhere else. I didn't like to be, always just wearing the same stuff as everyone else. And so
Yeah.
that was quite hard to do without, endlessly searching or being lucky enough to get hit by ads on Facebook or Instagram of people that you then did like, and without, creating a load of bookmarks for yourself or storing names of URLs in your mind.
Yeah.
Often as well, you'd see great designs, but you couldn't remember the name of the brand, right?
No.
Because you don't have any brand allegiance or kind of recognition of them yet.
No.
So, I was doing things like storing bookmarks, or as we all did, just shop in places like ASOS or Next or
go to the simplest option.
Yeah, exactly. We all loved a bit of ASOS because it made your life easy, right? You could see a lot of products all next to each other very easily.
There's going to be a lot of name dropping of brands here that we I don't know, we won't bleep them out because we're going to call them out, because I think what we're quite proud of is that we've got a solution that actually we hope really helps people. In a way that I don't think some of the other competitors or some of the other brands on the market do. I suppose when I bought clothes, I was finding when I was buying them at the start, when we were at uni 10 years ago, I was finding that clothes were they were decent quality. Like I would buy stuff from the stores you mentioned, and they were decent quality. Like I would get them, I would be happy, I'd wear them, they'd last a long time. And I don't know, like over the years, I don't know if you found this, but over the years, like I just found them just getting worse and worse, more generic, and even like name brands, big brands, they were just being printed from whoever, and the actual quality of them wasn't the same as what they once were. Like I remember a Nike t-shirt used to be quite a thick, fabric, a very particular style, and then I was ordering Nike t-shirts from certain brands, and it would be different every time. It would fit differently every time. And so that was something that really sort of wound me up. And I think you and I, we both had a eureka moment. We were sat in our flat in Collier's Woods in London, and we were saying we were both talking about this problem. And I suppose we were like, is there a solution for this? And I suppose we did our research. We were like, we tried to find something that, there must have been something out there. And there were things that were relatively useful, that were stockists, or they had that, but they had their inherent problems. They were either too expensive or not our style.
Yeah, not enough range, or all vintage as well. And don't get me wrong, love vintage clothes. But a lot of things that were set up for vintage clothes, but not necessarily new clothes as well. And then there was the high end piece. There were some people doing maybe a similar kind of thing, but for really high end fashion, where a t-shirt is costing you £300. So that wasn't the market we wanted to play in.
No, and I suppose we don't really believe in sort of luxury fashion per se, because we don't feel that it serves the average man on the street. And I think what we try and do with Veste is really sort of figure out who the best customer is, and the best customer is everyone. Like I want anyone to be able to come on a Veste, find something that they really like, and be able to buy it, and be able to search for lots of different things in one place. So I think having that ability in finding people that really care about the clothes that they make, from small brands that seem to actually create amazing things, and they're doing something off their own back, and like actually empowering smaller businesses, I found to be like a very rewarding concept. And I suppose what we thought was that this idea is useful. Like we would find utility from it. We couldn't find anything on the market. And so we were like, can we physically like make this? And so then started a journey of like, oh my God, can we actually do this? And I think I remember sort of us discussing the idea, and you sort of going like, just having this energy that I think you only get when you're sort of really super excited about a concept. And I remember we finished the conversation and you ran to your room. where you work every day. You
Yep.
have to go into that, and you started like furiously trying to figure out how to physically do that. So again, I suppose what we should do is also like sort of go into our background. So what enabled you to be able to take an idea like we just said, bringing lots of different independent retailers in one place? What enabled you to be able to sort of then go, right, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to physically do that and make it into a website that people can actually go on?
Great question. So it was obviously the depths of lockdown, wasn't it? And so we didn't all have a lot to do at that point, right? We all had a lot more time with ourselves and our minds than we'd ever had. So that was a huge factor in getting this off the ground, right? And I knew in lockdown I wanted something to have a project to work on, be that, myself or whatever. And we had the conversation about Aveste, along with all the other random business ideas that me and you come up with on the fly quite regularly. We need to stop doing that. And so, I was like, can this be done? We don't want to become a stockist initially. We don't want to physically have the stock and run a warehouse and all the rest of it. We want to create a new sales channel for existing retailers such that they could sell on a platform like ASOS, but really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And so after a bit of research into, I think we'd written down a list of like 20 brands that we liked just in that evening. After a bit of research with a fabulous website called Built With, we could see that 95% of them were built with Shopify, right? I've worked with Shopify before. No, it's a fantastic tool, and I know that it's got a lot of customizability. And I went away to my room and was like, you know what? This can actually be done, to be honest with you. It's not going to be simple, but it can be done. Shopify kind of references the fact that you can do this in their documentation, but they're not very explicit about it. And so it was like, okay, this can be done. There's nothing stopping us in terms of red tape from physically doing this.
No.
And so, the first line of code was written on September the 1st, 2020.
Yeah. So I think going from the journey of like an idea to knowing that it was technically possible took, I don't know, what would you say in terms of time?
Probably a few evenings of work after work. And so, it's not like, I guess the reason that I was able to know that it was possible is just because of my background in programming and building websites and stuff. Like, it wasn't explicit on Shopify's website that it could be done. But with a technical background, I was like, this can 100% be done.
So Jake's being incredibly humble here, where he's saying, we were looking at Shopify documentation and followed some steps and, tried to figure it out. But really what you did is, work on the back end of a pretty serious website and come up with a solution to do this idea to bring lots of independent brands together. And so, we started on that journey. We're still in lockdown. We're sort of working. We both had full-time jobs.
We did. The website had to be built from scratch as well.
Yeah.
It was not an off-the-shelf thing.
No.
Sadly, we had a lot to think about. You've got to onboard people. You've got to keep in sync with their stores. You've got to get a checkout that works. You've got to bill people. Yeah, it's quite a behemoth when you think about it.
So you found the project that you were waiting for during lockdown. You scrapped, learning another language. That was gone.
Yeah, the Spanish lasted for a few months. And then thought I'd learn a programming language instead.
Yeah. I mean, languages are languages. So I suppose we're going along the journey now. So we've come up with the idea. We're still in lockdown. We're both working really hard and we're trying to figure out as much time as we physically can to devote to Aveste. So the next sort of stage after physically coming up with the idea and doing the initial technical side was, I suppose, launching like the MVP, right? Like it took a long time to get to that. We've literally brushed past months of work.
It took 1 year from like the first line of code until we were approved on the Shopify App Store.
Yeah.
And could then physically go out to the world and try and make this something.
Yeah. So we get to that point and we're like, we both agreed that we'd launch something. It would be pretty basic. We call it the MVP because it's the minimal viable product, right, to launch. And we figure out, we just go for it. We just try and figure out something and launch it as soon as we can. Because what we didn't necessarily do is loads of market research, did we? We asked a few friends.
Yeah, we asked a few friends if they would use a platform like this. We hadn't reached out to any brands to say, would you use it? Maybe an error on our part.
Well,
and then we launched a very simple looking website with a load of stock photos and 0 brands.
Yeah, so that's a fun story that we should get into now. So basically, the concept of our website and our store and our idea is powered by having as many brands, as many retailers on the site as possible, right? And so we launched, what month was it? Was it October?
Yeah, the site went live in October,
Yeah.
In its infancy.
So October 2021, we launched aveste.co.uk, and it had no retailers. It had no imagery, really, other than stock images.
And a load of fake products that I'd made.
Yeah. And now we have to try and make it a thing. So I suppose when you're starting a clothing brand, that there isn't that initial issue. The initial issue when you're a clothing brand is trying to figure out where the stock comes from, and how you're going to market it, and what people actually like, I suppose, is the key one. So we had to go through a process where we were like, let's find the amazing brands that we love and try and figure out who's nice enough to trust two random blokes.
Yep.
With just an idea, because again, we haven't necessarily said this, it's just you and I.
Yep.
Like, there's no one else working on Aveste. Like, we're doing it. We haven't taken any money from anyone. We're investing everything in ourselves. So yeah, we're completely bootstrapping the business. We're doing it all off our own backs, right? And it's only you and I. So
it's only you and I.
People, from the outside might not necessarily know that it's just you and I working on it. So we get to that point, and we now have to have a conversation with a third party for the first time ever. Neither you nor I had any experience in fashion.
No fashion experience. We were marketeers and technology people, really.
Yeah. So we had no idea about what the business problems were of a fashion retailer, of a clothing brand. We had no idea what they needed. We just had an idea that we thought sounded reasonable to them, and a business model, which I suppose is like a favorable business model to them. And we hoped that we could go out there and convince them to join Aveste, right?
Definitely.
And I suppose the process of joining Aveste isn't very difficult, but it's someone trusting another person with a website that doesn't have anything on it.
Yeah, and trusting you with their data as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be good to tell people how that process worked then. Have you actually contacted them? How did you do it?
So I suppose what you've got to do is you've got to explain what it could become and the idea and how it works and how simple it is. And then talk about, what actually happens if you join. I suppose that's the simplest way of doing it. So I suppose the process was, we both, looked at what brands we really liked, and we had a big old list of people that we desperately wanted to work with. And I don't know, the initial lists, probably 40, 50 brands on the initial list. And they were all UK based. And they were all of a certain size. Like, we didn't really go for huge following brands. We didn't, Represent were on the list, but we didn't reach out to Represent, did we? But we definitely had a few relatively big brands that we loved, where we were like, they definitely won't trust us.
Yeah, never in a million years.
Yeah, they definitely won't. And we'll get back to that more later, right? But I suppose the first process was like producing something, which ended up being a deck, but producing something where it was like, this is what happens when you join, this is how it works, and this is what Aveste is going to be, right? I suppose that was the way of doing it. So we sent that to, I think I only probably sent that to about 3 people.
Yeah. Did you do that on email or Instagram?
Yeah, so I did initially on email, but I think I probably followed up with a few Instagrams. So a lot of our brands will get a bit sick of me sliding into their DMs and telling me to piss off. But yeah, I think, we just did an email to start off with. And yeah, like we talk about this all the time. I think you have to go into that ready to be rejected.
Totally.
I think you have to be ready for them to just say, piss off, I don't like your idea, or just ignore you. which is
What happened?
being ghosting in business is almost as bad as being ghosted in
Dating.
a dating term. Yeah. So yeah, I think we were ready for that. And to be honest with you, I had no idea whether they would reply or whether they would like it, as we said. So I suppose it's a massive leap of faith, but we'd sunk a year of time into it, but we hadn't sunk any money necessarily in, not serious money.
No.
And so it was, I always just sort of like, I was just like, let's just give it a go.
Yeah.
At the worst case, we both sort of had a chat once over dinner, didn't we? Where we were like, look, if people don't like it, if the consumers don't like it, people that are actually buying the clothes and people that are, trying to have the same problem we have, solve the same problem, don't like it, and the retailers don't like it, then that's
There's something wrong, yeah.
Well, but then also, like, we tried and we failed, and we take some lessons from that. I suppose you can learn from anything, can't you?
Of course you can.
So yeah, we didn't know, and we reached out to the 3 brands, and I think two out of the 3 replied, and then our first brand replied very nicely.
Yes, that leads us nicely into our very first brand, which was Soul Clothing. Sorry.
Yeah,
Soul.
So yeah, but we don't care about pronunciation, do we? People say Aveste in every single way.
Aveste, I've heard some strange pronunciations of Aveste.
Yeah.
So yeah, Soul Clothing was our first brand, run by Matt Soul himself.
Yeah. So what an amazing guy, first of all. And I think we got on the phone with him. I think that was a scary moment when we get on the call for the first time, because we're 2 blokes. We've got a business, but we haven't really got a business. Like, we've got no idea what we're doing. We've got no idea how to talk about ourselves.
Yeah, we've got a platform that works, but we've got no one on it. We've not sold anything yet.
Yeah. So we had no sales, no products, and we're telling poor old Matt that this is going to be a huge platform and you need to trust us and back us. So we had a call with Matt, and I think I think you and I will always be forever grateful to Matt for just trusting us, basically, because I think it was a relatively simple conversation. Like, we explained what we were doing. We were desperate to hear a bit more about Saul as well.
Yeah. I'd always liked his clothes. He'd been hitting me with ads on Instagram for a while.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, this guy's really cool. I love his designs, his kind of 90s prints. He's got really great necks and all the rest of it. So I was like, this guy would be great. And so, yeah, we got on the phone to him, and he was actually really on board with the concept. It was like, this is great.
Yeah.
We did have some trouble getting him downloading the app, and I think the app broke about 3 times, and I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing. But that's growing problems.
Well, that's when we'd never done it before. So it's always going to be an issue. So, but we had to pinch ourselves, I think, at moments during that, didn't we? I think we had to literally go, I can't believe that Matt has, downloaded this app that connects into his Shopify store that allows us to show his products on Aveste. Like, we couldn't believe it. So yeah, again, thanks to Matt for allowing that. Yeah, always a legend. And we are representing. Well, you're representing Saul today. So yeah, we're repping the brand as well. We do wear the stuff.
We do wear the stuff. Yeah,
we do wear. We believe in it.
We practice what we preach.
Yeah.
And I've bought from some of these brands even prior to Aveste. So yeah, Saul Athletics top.
Yeah,
find it on
fits
Aveste.
lovely.
It fits awesome.
Yeah,
Print
the print's
is awesome.
great. Yeah, it looks good quality as well. That's the thing. I think when we buy t-shirts, it's either super heavyweight and it ruins it in the wash in 2 seconds, or it's super lightweight and it sort of disintegrates. So I think it looks really good. I really like that design. I like the color of it as well. And I saw it in the wild recently.
Did you?
Yeah, I was in a cab. And out the door of the cab, I saw this Saul top. And I had to double take because I was like,
iconic. Is
it something else? And I looked at it and I was like, that is a Saul top. That's the first time I saw it in the wild. And that's a moment, isn't it? Like, if I ever saw anything else that's on Aveste on someone in the street randomly that I don't know, I would honestly, I don't know, I'd well up a little bit, because it'd be like, wow, like, these brands have permeated sort of, I don't know, popular culture. It's a huge moment, wouldn't it?
Totally. And we're here to bring them up as well as ourselves. There's enough to go round for everyone, and if we can rise by rising others with us, then I'm all for it.
Saul when we first started speaking to him, had like 6 or 7 thousand followers on Instagram.
Less, way less.
You think he had
I
less?
think like 2,000.
Do you think?
And he had like 2 or 3 products, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
insane.
I might be wrong there.
So, but that shows you, right? So that when we should go back onto that. So it's like we were talking to brands that were very much startup brands. They had a really passionate founder, and more often than not, a lot of the brands that we work with end up being like a one-man band, don't they? Just like us. Like,
yeah,
you know,
working out of their bedrooms, working in their mum and dad's house, stock up, stacked to the ceiling in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
They're very much just normal people getting started with, a couple of SKUs, a couple of products.
Yeah, so we're not. So again, we should make this really clear for anyone that doesn't necessarily know Aveste very well and listening very kindly to this podcast, that we're not going to stock Carhartt, we're not going to stock Nike, we're not going to stock those huge brands that have, they're in every store all around the world, right? That are huge mass market names. I think, if we ever had to deal with that issue, we'll have to deal with it later on. But we want to. Our sort of emphasis and what our belief is empowering smaller businesses and people that have actually got like an idea to do something themselves. And more, sometimes they can be side hustles. I know plenty, I would say 80% of our brands that we have on now, and we're very lucky to work with like 25 brands roughly now. A lot of them, this is still like a side hustle, like it's a gig. It's a gig they're still working on.
Yeah, it's these things take 4 or 5 years to build. To build a brand takes a long time, and the market has a lot of players in it as well these days because of tools like Shopify have made it ever easier to make good websites with great checkouts. And similarly, there's so many printing and embroidery companies popping up all over the place now, making it, again, easier than ever to print T-shirts. So 1, how do you differentiate as a brand? And then 2, how do you get your stock in front of more people? And the traditional stockist method is quite complex, and you often have to have a lot of volume to get your stuff in places like high street retailers. So, no, Aveste seemed like a simple solution to get people's products in front of more people.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get back to the journey that we're on, I suppose. So Matt's signed up. We've got our first retailer. So now we're meant to be a marketplace where you can find lots of different retailers, and now we have one.
So, we have one. Does that make us a marketplace now?
Definitely not. So the issue was then is, we've got this amazing brand that we love, and we loved the clothes from. We loved Matt. We got on so well with them, and he believed in us. But then we were like, right, we've got to find other brands that can trust us in the same way, which was equally as difficult. Like we said, we reached out to 3 probably at the start, and then we were like, now we've got to reach out to 20 to get the next
easily
group. Yeah. So I suppose there was again, we should talk about this, is all of the brands that we have on Aveste, we would either wear ourselves, or we know people that would love, personally, we know people that would love the clothes of the retailers. So it's very much sort of curated, isn't it?
100%. We don't just want any old clothes on there. It's stuff that we actually like, and it's stuff that looks coherent together as well. We're not going to start selling like smart loungewear or anything like that, because it just won't fit with what we've got going on, that streetwear aesthetic. So yeah, as you say, it's very much stuff that we would wear, or we owned it already actually with some of the brands. So
yeah. So that's an easy thing. It's quite easy to talk about a particular brand that we like, because almost like every single brand that we have on there, we're like, right, we absolutely love that. We want the clothes ourselves. We're pestering them to send us some stuff. So thanks to all the brands that have sent us some stuff to create content with, because we love it. And we've bought bloody loads of the clothes ourselves as well. We've probably spent a small fortune on some of the clothes, even for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And
our friends have been buying them as well.
Yeah,
which is great to some of our friends. Thank you to any of our friends that are listening that have bought clothes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to that. And I think that was the first thing that I was actually a bit worried about when we did first launch, was that imagine if our friends were like, oh yeah, really good idea, mate, but then didn't actually want to buy anything, or didn't actually like any of the clothes on there. So I remember who was one of our first friends that bought Miles. Yeah. Oh, Miles. Big shout out to Miles. Thank you. I'm sure he'll be listening to this. So yeah, thank you to Miles for buying the first one. And the first top he bought was a Saul top.
Yeah, it was indeed. Yeah. To have friends that are actually advocates of the brand. I hope they're not just blowing smoke up our, just to be like supportive friends. But no, I genuinely believe they're actual advocates of the brand. I worry that half of our traffic that we see on Google Analytics is actually just from our friends and family.
You got to start somewhere, haven't you? You got to start somewhere. I think probably in the early days, it probably half our traffic was from our
we were
friends and
giving
family.
ourselves a pat on the back for all our organic traffic. It was just our mums and dads.
Mums, dads, mates, cousins, family. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, when Miles bought that top, I suppose that was a little moment of relief for me personally. I don't know how you felt, because it was like, right, people actually do like the clothes. They are actually going to wear them out, not just when they're sitting around at home when no one has to see them. And I remember we got that first picture from Miles when he was on a night out. What was he? Was he in a festival?
He was at the Warehouse
Project.
Yep.
Classic. Yeah. So I mean, that was a good photo as well. And yeah, I remember seeing Miles in his t-shirt bought from our business, and I was just like, again, that was one of those moments where it didn't feel real, because it was like, how have we gone from this stage of just an idea to now actually, people buying it? And also, do you remember the first order that we had? It was like a
genuine order,
someone that actually came on our site, found us. We didn't know them.
Yeah,
it wasn't a friend of a friend. It wasn't a cousin this time, and actually placed an order. One of the first ones was from America. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's yeah, when you get that notification on your phone to say you've had a sale, I don't think you'll ever get bored of seeing that, even now, compared to, I say even now, but compared to, the first one was great, and they still feel great ever since, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you and we always say, like, there's an energy to that moment that I can't really get from a lot of other things. There's a dopamine hit from people actually loving what you do. And also, we do often get, and thanks to all of our followers, we do often get a lot of very nice messages from people where they're like, we really like the idea. And that's then the next stage
reinforces the idea for you. And, people parting with their hard-earned cash, it's a serious thing, right? Especially 100%. At the minute. So, yeah, it feels really, really nice.
Yeah, and I'm always super thankful. And we do try and message everyone we physically can on Instagram. And we will try and do that for as long as we physically can.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it means so much to us when people literally go, really love the concept or really like the collection that you've got. And I find it even more so when people say we really like the concept.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it serves to prove that the problem that we had is shared by other people. And if we can solve that problem, then great. Like, the reason why I really wanted to create this, because I want to use it.
Yeah,
I want to use it for myself.
That's why they say with a business, try and solve a problem that you have, or a problem which sits in a spreadsheet currently, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose what we should do now is sort of round this section up by sort of going, right, we've got one brand. How did we then get to 25, right? And there's a big
it's a big jump.
There's a big jump between that, right? But I think the process is relatively similar, isn't it? It's we had that list of people that we loved, and I think we fired a few messages to a few people where we're like, there's no way they're ever going to reply. I remember Eranogo being one of the first ones. So shout out to Eranogo for again joining Avesto. Absolutely love their brand. They are retro chic on a t-shirt and hoodies, and
90s tech kind of dystopian.
Yeah. A lot of old school Windows references, a lot of old school technology issues, some Nokia moments, like very much sort of like reminiscent of childhood moments within the 90s.
Yeah, of your computer crashing because you've got too many viruses, or
Yeah, which I think we all have. Like, if you're of that certain age, everyone remembers those years very fondly, and we all had that same issue of probably having a family computer, it not working, having a virus, and that's why Eranogo is super popular. And they were at the time, and maybe even now, one of the biggest brands that we managed to get to join Avesto, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. They were at we were so excited. We celebrated when you finally kind of closed that one. That was a big day, and they were like retailer number, I want to say 10, 9, something like that, about halfway through.
Yeah.
So I guess you just continued your process of, I guess cold messaging, and that's what some people would call it, cold messaging, right?
Yeah.
And getting people on phone calls, showing them that you're a real person, a real, not part of a huge corporation, and having that really personable aspect to your your approach, I suppose.
Well, I think, and it's both of us, isn't it? I think when we've spoken, I always like to have both of us on the call because of your knowledge. You know what I mean? And I think when we have spoken to people, what I tend to see in life at the moment is that there's so many people that are just out there for a quick buck and they want to use and abuse you.
Of course.
And look, you know, I've worked in sales. You know, I've been on the other side of that, and I find it horrible. So I think, you know, and I hope that all of our brands will say this, and we're going to have a few of them on this podcast. So look forward to that. Yeah. But I think hopefully what all of them say is that we are real people that actually really care about them, both as people and as businesses. And we really want them to succeed in every aspect. And I hope that we've been able to help them, both from obviously showing new customers their amazing collections, but also in every other sense that we help them. You know, we help them from a marketing perspective. We help them in every way that we physically can, right? And so yeah, I really hope that we do help them. We have more of a relationship than just a transactional one, because I don't want that. And I think when we chat to all the guys and girls that we work with, I think, you know, you know, everyone listening will see that we really do care about them, and we have a really great relationship with the people that we work with.
Totally, and we want their brands to become as well known as Adidas's and Nike's, and for them not to be side hustles anymore for those that are side hustles.
Yeah, it would be an amazing moment for me to have one of these retailers, like, I don't know, maybe a Saint Loco as an example, to sort of go, right, now that is my full-time role, the owner of Saint Loco. It would be an amazing moment.
Yeah, because we would have contributed towards that.
Yeah, and I think that, again, if we're talking about dopamine hits, that moment where we've actually been able to enable someone to have a full-time role of their dream, which was getting into fashion and creating their own clothing brands. I don't think there's many feelings like that, really.
Totally. I mean, imagine what the feeling will be like for us, you know, for reference. Josh and I still do our day jobs as well.
Yeah.
I moved down to 4 days a week about 2 months ago. But yeah, we're still very much doing our day jobs and, you know, working every weekend and working every evening. You know, it's Sunday right now, Sunday morning, up out and early. So yeah, it's what you got to do, really.
Yeah, but it's nice because we don't necessarily feel like it is. I don't know about you. I don't feel like it's work.
No, I don't feel like I'm at work right now.
No,
it's great.
It is really good. But I think that moment of being able to go and be full time will be super. It would be amazing. It'd be super cool. But we've got to get there, right? We've still got work to do, and it's really hard. And
it's really hard
because we work with lots of different smaller businesses. We see the growth pains and the issues that all of them have, and we all share a common, you know, set of issues, right? And it's so difficult to go from this is a bit of pocket money and a dream of mine to then actually making that a business. And like we said at the start, I didn't want to start this when Aveste was a full-time thing. And we've already left people behind, because also I find when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to, you know, CEOs come on and speak where they've got 200 people and they've come in halfway through the business and they haven't been there to graft it. I don't really get that sense that they've had to really work at something. They've had to, you know, put their sleeves up. They've had to do a bit of everything like we do. We end up having to do a bit of everything. And so what I hope we can do here is sort of go, we're literally starting off. We're not successful right now.
No, we're not.
We're not. And there's no way around that. But what I hope we can do is we can look back on this in 10 years' time, like the journaling aspect, and go, okay, well, this is what happened in 2022 in September. This is where we started off. And, you know, like we said, we've tried to tell the story of when we first started, but that's where we are.
Totally. And it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. And you've just got to be very, very patient, one day at a time. But it's tough right now. You know, economy's tough. But hopefully this podcast will, as well as, bring other people on the journey, it might help you and I organise our thoughts a little as well.
Yeah, 100%. So I think, that's where we are. We're 25 brands. We're still very much at the start of our journey. We're trying our best to grow as much as we can and make sure that people know about us. Because again, half of the thing is when people understand what the idea is, people are like, it's a great idea, or at least a decent proportion too. And even if that's 10%, that's still a amount. So yeah, I think, we're going to carry on talking about that. So yeah, I suppose that leads quite nicely into talking about what our goals are. So we should get into explaining to everyone, like, what do we actually want to achieve from Aveste Day? We've mentioned a few points, but I suppose we should get into that.
Just to summarize them then. I mean, a few have been obviously spoken about throughout, the last half an hour.
Yeah.
But I suppose the goal of Aveste Day is give customers a great place to shop. Give the fantastic brands that we work with an additional outlet for revenue and exposure and new customers, with the simplicity that they wouldn't get necessarily from stockists as well. And also, I suppose, third, try and sell new clothes as sustainably as possible. We've teamed up with Ecology recently as well.
Yeah.
I do buy quite a lot of vintage clothes as well, and I think that's obviously as sustainable as one can get, right? Unless you just sit around naked all day.
Yeah.
But we all need to wear some clothes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, build a brand that's also as sustainable as physically possible when selling new clothes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think beyond what we do ourselves, a lot of the brands we partner with, and again, we try and do this intentionally, that they are sustainable. They use sustainable fabrics and they use sustainable
water-based inks
and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we try as best we can. We're selling new clothes. There's no way around that. And I don't feel embarrassed about that because, the vintage market is the vintage market.
Totally.
But also I feel that there's still value in sustainable new clothes.
Of course there is, and stuff that's going to last as well. I know for a fact that the T-shirt I'm wearing now will end up in a vintage shop one day.
Yeah.
Because it won't have been thrown in landfill because it's great quality. So
yeah,
stuff of today will become vintage at some point.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, beyond that, I think the other thing that I really love about this, and we've mentioned it, is that we actually get to work on something we love. And I think, we are super passionate about this business because it's a problem that we wanted to solve. And I think there isn't many opportunities, and, God knows if this is going to actually work, right? Again, I hope we look back on this one day where it has. But I think having the opportunity to put time and energy into something that you absolutely love doing is actually really unusual, isn't it?
It's not a luxury many get.
No. So having that is super. I'm super grateful for. So yeah, doing that I think is really good. So in terms of the next sort of step and giving people what they need from an online experience, right? Data is a key aspect of it.
Totally.
And what a lot of people don't get when they're shopping online is the data they need, the sizing information they need to effectively buy clothes. And what we're seeing more and more of, and I do this because I very rarely go to the high street anymore because I find the experience horrible, is people buying online. And I think maybe the reason why I would go to the high street is because I've tried to buy something online and it hasn't fit me right and I've had to go to a shop to try it on. But I think, we've seen by the data, you can see by the data in the market, more people are shopping online. So I think a key thing for us is to be able to give people the data they need to actually buy something online and not return it, because I hate doing returns.
And know that it's going to fit. It's the age-old problem in the industry. And returns is currently what solves that problem for people, because they can buy something and if depending on what brand they're working with, they bought it for, they can just return it for free. And it's not a sustainable model.
No, and it's not good. It's not good in any aspect.
Good for the
Think
planet.
of the fuel.
It's not good for profit margins.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing as well, when something turns up and you're like, doesn't feel good, doesn't fit right.
No.
Yeah, so that is a challenge that we think we can solve with data.
Yeah. So again, we're at the start of that journey, but we're trying our best to get the sizing information as accurate as you possibly can. So when you go on a Aveste and you find a t-shirt you really like, you know that it's going to fit you in the way that you intend. And so we give people as much information as we can. So we give people size guides, and the size guides have the information that you need. You and I always laugh. The key piece of information you need is what? T-shirt length.
Yes.
That's a key one.
Length.
Because if you're a shorter bloke, having a really long t-shirt is stupid.
It's a dress, isn't it?
Yeah, and being a tall bloke and having a really short t-shirt is equally as annoying, and you look absolutely stupid.
Absolutely, you don't want to lift your arms up because all your tummy will come out.
Exactly, which is not a good look. I mean, maybe that will come around one day.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah,
which is awesome. And then I suppose on that as well, we just want to create content with normal people doing normal things, looking great in these great clothes. That's why we always try and reach out to people for customers to see how their fits look as well. People buy from people and they really want to just see normal people in clothes, and so that's what we're really going after as well, as opposed to the kind of more traditional models, white backgrounds photography as well. So hopefully that helps people shop better as well.
Yeah, I think that's really missing. Like I remember when I used to shop, I remember trying to find t-shirts that I liked, and the models are always super skinny. They're super beautiful, but they're also wearing t-shirts that I always find they wear weird sizes. Like you see a model that's a 6-foot bloke and he's wearing a medium t-shirt, and I'm going, if I bought that t-shirt, it would not fit me. The medium would not fit me.
Totally.
And it's just, and there's nothing you can do about that. Do you know what I mean? So again, like we said, actually seeing real people in the clothes is a thing which I don't know why the market isn't doing that already. I don't know why more people aren't doing that now.
Completely agree. So it's another challenge we're going to work on for sure.
Yeah.
Taking some photos this afternoon actually as well.
Yeah, we're going to
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. It's not nice being. I don't personally love being a model, but
or a podcaster.
But yeah, I think less so a model, because I think it's hard, isn't it? Because I think we all do.
It's a skill.
But also you judge yourself.
Of course you judge yourself. And modelling is a skill.
Yeah.
Like, I won't take anything away from any models if anyone's listening, but it's a skill. Taking good photos and looking good is not easy, because if it was, we'd all be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's funny, isn't it? Like when you think of a model, you don't necessarily go, oh, this is an art form, but 100% is. And maybe I don't think I valued that enough before we started Aveste, how difficult that was. So totally. Yeah, like there's value in model shots 100%, because there are still preconceptions. People will buy from good looking people, and and it's hard, and if you've got a really strong tatted guy, it's probably going to sell more than being on a normal bloke. But I would rather give people how it actually looks and how it actually fits on real people. And I think also there's a bit where setting is also a key thing. Like we don't see people, in a club, down the pub, in natural settings where they're wearing the clothes that we have on Aveste. And I'm super passionate about that, to go, right, this is how it's going to look when you're in a club. This is what it's going to look like when you're out with your friends in a pub. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why we buy clothes. We don't all have these amazing experiences where we're on a beach or in a super polished concrete set or whatever.
Totally.
I want to see how it really looks, and I think that setting makes a big difference. So yeah,
completely agree.
I think we'll always try and show as much good imagery as we can, for sure.
Definitely. Last goal I would just quickly add is reward people for loyalty to a brand as well.
Yeah,
we want to introduce our point scheme. Because people, when they come and, your most valuable customers are the ones that come back time and time again, and they should be rewarded for that. You shouldn't just take that for granted. So, the Aveste, I won't give the name of it yet because it's still under consideration, but that is a work in progress, and we're going to look to be rewarding people for shopping with us regularly as well.
Yeah, again, and that's just part of the ecosystem that we're trying to build. Like we said, we're sort of like adding features as we go. But we think every feature that we do adds real value to the customers. We've even just gone for the filters and the sorting system. And again, like everything that we add is going to make that experience really good. And I'm actually really excited to go through, I know we mentioned it just before, but to go through the sizing journey that we're going to go on. Because I think, again, the data that we're going to be able to provide really, really, really helps.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So I think we've only got a couple more things that we want to sort of go on, and we can whiz through these pretty quickly. But I suppose the problem that we had, and we mentioned it at the start, was that we found it very difficult to find clothes we really liked. And so what I thought would be quite fun is if you and I discuss very quickly some experiences that we've had shopping online and what we don't like, and why we've tried to solve that problem. So yeah, shall we mention? I'm going to call them out, right? Zara. Let's go there, right? Zara, if you're listening to us right now, Jake Dormer is sat here ready to go, able to help you because your website has improved, but it's shit.
It's got better. I mean, I won't get it up. Should I? No, I won't get it up.
No.
Yeah, troublesome experience shopping on Zara.
Yeah.
Have no idea where to go when you click on the menu. All of the links are different sizes. You then get to some kind of product listing pages, which were all over the place. I think it has improved since then.
It has improved slightly.
Massive retailer. They've got some great stuff, but website just all over the place. And so Aveste is, we're technologists and marketers. Hopefully this is an area where we can really stand out for sure.
Yeah. So I always laugh, and Jake and I had to mention Zara because I always laugh because I actually really love Zara clothes, and I have bought some in the past and wear them all the time. But I think, that experience going through that website, trying to sort through clothes, trying to scroll is just even scrolling is difficult on that site. So yeah, the Zara experience is one that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I much more enjoy the Aveste experience. But we're biased. And then I suppose another one is just sizing. I suppose on different websites. I mean, I remember shopping. So I bought a Patagonia t-shirt 3 years ago, right? And it sticks
orange one.
Yeah, it sticks in my memory. More so than a t-shirt that you bought 3 years ago should, just because of the experience, right? I bought it, and I remember looking at the sizing information and going, right, that's long enough for me, which is a key thing. It's not too wide, and I like the look of it, and the print is amazing, and I really like it. And it's Patagonia, so I was thinking quality again, right. So now it's time to call out Patagonia. So Patagonia has all of this belief in sustainability and reusability, and t-shirts should last a long time, clothes should last a long time, etc. The t-shirt has a hole in it, and it had a hole in it about sort of, I don't know,
what's
18
the
months
thickness like?
It's quite thin.
Quite thin.
Yeah.
What would you say in GSM?
In GSM, I would say, I don't know.
For anyone that doesn't know what GSM means, that's means grams per square meter, and is a measure of how thick fabrics are. If you ever notice why you think maybe some t-shirts fit better on you or fit worse on you, it's probably because of the GSM. And some people prefer their t-shirts a bit thicker, others thinner. Personally, I'm thicker. Find they last longer.
Yeah,
but not too thick. We don't want it to become a sweatshirt.
No,
there is a point where it becomes a sweatshirt.
Yeah, and also it's got to be like a winter tee at that point as well. Totally. When it's super thick, you can't wear it in summer. And a t-shirt's really for warm weather, isn't it?
Totally.
So I was really upset about that. And then it also came in, it didn't fit in the way that I expected at all.
Well, and it was maybe your expectations were wrong.
Yeah.
Or you just didn't have enough data.
Yeah.
To make an informed decision.
Yeah. So I was really upset about that. So yeah, I think those are, I suppose that sort of summarizes the key issues that we have with some of the retailers right now. Any other fun stories of trying to shop online and not being able to find anything you like?
No, probably just, a series of returning stuff to ASOS in my kind of younger years.
Do you actually do returns?
I think it's more aimed at the female market because of buying dresses and stuff.
Do you personally?
I bought some stuff the other day and no, it was fine. It was fine.
But
I haven't shopped on it. I shop on ASOS maybe once a year.
Out of all of the clothes that you've ever got and not liked, what percentage do you reckon that you've actually returned? As a man,
I'm quite good. I want my money back, but I know you, on the other hand, you're like...
yeah. Well, I reckon, I honestly do feel this. I reckon there's a very high percentage of the population in the UK that are blokes that are shopping online that just wouldn't ever do a return. I think there's a high possibility that they would never do a return because just for the effort of doing a return. And I know ASOS in particular make it incredibly easy, but I think they have changed it recently that it isn't as easy as it once was.
So they charge you now?
I don't know.
It was free. They might charge you now. I don't know.
So again, I hated returns, and so if we can solve that experience so that we don't get a lot of returns on Aveste.
No, we don't. Not so far. So
Touch wood.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
People like the stuff that is that's turning up.
Yeah. So yeah, if we can solve, I think that's a really big issue to solve. If we can get rid of returns, I think that'd be really good. So yeah, I suppose that's pretty much everything, right? We've explained our story. We've told everyone what we're about. We're very grateful for people if they have got to this point and they're still listening to us wittering on.
Just the bots have got to this point, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that we'll call it a day there, and we'll say thank you very much to everyone listening. I think if you have got to this point and you liked our conversation, the good news is that we'll be filming a few more of these, and hopefully you'll enjoy listening to them. If you are watching on YouTube, if you liked it, please do give us a like and also subscribe to Aveste. We've got 2 subscribers at the moment.
Do we?
Yeah.
Is that me and you?
Probably, yeah. So if you can subscribe, that'd be great. If we could get to 3, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you.
50% growth.
Yeah. And yeah, I suppose what I always like to do is I'd love to have more of a conversation with people on these videos as well. So I suppose the question I've got is, how do you find clothes right now? Like, what's the actual experience of, like, what's your shopping experience? Like, do you just go to one website? You know, what website is it? Do you like that experience? Is there anything that you don't like?
Let us know.
We'd love to know. And I honestly, I am genuinely interested because we haven't ever done market research.
No.
So we have no idea what people are thinking. So
yeah, drop us a note on Instagram.
Yeah, drop us a note on Instagram for sure. And yeah, if you're listening on Spotify or any of the audio platforms, give us a review, say thanks. And yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.